PS5 pre-orders, games, and other crap that's happened over the past week. Let's get into it. What is happening, guys? Dealer back again with yet another video talking about PlayStation 5 because Xbox decided to eat sandwiches today instead of marketing or showing us anything running on Xbox Series X. And that's really unfortunate given the extremely powerful nature of the hardware itself. But Sony do have some information for its fans. It does have some gameplay for its fans. And like it or not, that's something I wish Xbox were doing right now. Long story short, we got multiple articles coming out of the Sony camp. Nothing going on with Microsoft right now. We're covering this today. Maybe end up liking the video, hit the like button, show a buddy or two, and of course, leave a comment down below, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's get into it. Now we'll be covering PS5 pre-orders, the fact that they are bringing their games to more and more platforms as they have just recently confirmed, and much more. But let's start out with a new Wi-Fi technology found in the box. Now, surprisingly, I received several DMs about this, people wanting to know what the difference is. And long story short, Wi-Fi 6 has been essentially confirmed for PS5. This is the latest Wi-Fi standard, and think about it as, hey, your PS5 no longer has to wait in line to receive what it wants from the wireless signal in the house. Whereas today, with a lot of modern Wi-Fi setups, your devices have to wait their turn. And yes, you don't notice it because it is happening very, very quick. But at the end of the day, this will extend the life of PS5 and improve connectivity. It'll be interesting to see if Xbox Series X will utilize this. I don't see why they would not. Microsoft seemed to have very high standards for their platform, especially on the hardware side, so I guess time will tell. Next up, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War to support 120 FPS on next generation consoles. This does include the PS5. Now, as we had said over and over on RDX Podcast, PS5 is plenty capable of higher frame rates, especially 60 FPS. So yes, Call of Duty will apparently support 120 FPS for this year's iteration on next generation consoles. And the question really remains, what will the final resolution output be for that platform? Now, I know, you've heard multiple people who are not very technically inclined to brag about how this game is going to be running at 4K and 120 frames per second with ray tracing on the PS5, and for that matter, the Xbox Series X. And for those people, I really have to remind you that these games have been checkerboarded for years now, so you're already not running at native 4K, as a lot of these people are claiming, as even the developers have been misquoted that is, as claiming. Long story short, after checkerboarding is done on this title, you will have the demands of about a 1440p title, or under half of 4K, with that 120 Hz mode they are choosing, and that will also probably be dynamic on the resolution end. Now again, how high will that resolution get on PS5? We do not know, because remember, in this 120 frames per second mode, which they will probably have a 60 FPS mode as well, the CPU demands are higher than that of the 60 FPS standard mode. Your CPU has to work twice as hard, handing out twice the frames to the GPU. Not only that, but the GPU is also taxed on top of that to render double the frames of the traditional mode, meaning that they had to clock the CPU up on the PS5 for this particular mode, meaning that, as confirmed by Sony, as Mark Cerny, Smart Shift is coming into play here. You are not at a 10 teraflop PS5 level there. You are probably in the 9s, and if you are offended by that, I really don't care. Ask Mark Cerny, ask Sony. That's why they talked about Smart Shift. That's how it works. For some reason, Sony fanboys get really upset when you remind them that that is a scalable target on the GPU side. 10.2 teraflops is the best using Smart Shift, but when more CPU overhead is needed, they can get up to 3.5 gigahertz, but only when that GPU is declocked. That is officially confirmed information, meaning that you are no longer at the 10.2 level. You are probably somewhere around 9.5 to 9.7. Again, if that offends you, I feel sorry for you. That then brings into question, how much resolution are they pumping out using the GPU? Remember, the GPU pumps out effects and pixels. The CPU is handing the GPU those frames to render, and they are both being taxed very hard, very heavily in this mode. Same thing for Dirt 5. Dirt 5 also has a 120 frames per second mode on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And at that level, under that kind of strain, where they do need that CPU to be clocked up to hand the GPU those effects and those frames at double the refresh as a standard mode, you then have to take away some of that wattage from the GPU to hand the CPU the wattage it needs to be clocked up. That means resolution is going to suffer on these modes, and that's where I expect to see the biggest delta between the Xbox Series X and the PS5. Long story short, you should have a really big resolution delta on these 120 frame per second modes, given that developers are applying the same effort, resources, and time. For instance, not that this will happen, but Call of Duty, if it wasn't checkerboarded, could be maybe 1080p 120 on the PS5, whereas the Xbox Series X could have Call of Duty Cold War running above 1440p at 120 frames per second. But again, given that they are both checkerboarded, given that PS5 is the lead platform for marketing, etc., we'll have to see. Dirt 5 should be an interesting showcase there as well. It's not a malicious assessment by myself. I am just stating, my opinions on the matter. Let me know yours down below. Either way, they are charging you more to upgrade to this game. They're charging you $70 for the cross-gen version of Call of Duty. Otherwise, you are simply buying the Xbox One version. The PS5 has some other weird things going on with it. Let me know the full story of how these cross-gen versions work down in the comments. Next up, Sony officially doubled down and reconfirm rather, that they are investing more into the PC ecosystem, expanding more first-party titles to PC. Now look, you can be mad about this, you can throw a fit about this, you can say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, we told you this is going to happen well over a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. We were saying this. It was very clear that Sony were seeing Microsoft's additional revenue, their additional active users through PC, their additional sales, and you know what? They were going to copy the same model. Don't believe me? Well, Horizon Zero Dawn came to PC. It apparently did pretty well. Their bigger titles like God of War will come to PC. I've been saying that forever. I've been hearing that forever. And they reconfirm that they are bringing even more titles to the PC platform from their first-party lineup. Now, some of you may say, well, it's different. They wait a year to 36 months or some crap. Well, I need you to really think about this before you talk more about it, because again, people just constantly spread misinformation or information where they don't really think about anything before they talk. Basically, I would ask you to really look at Microsoft and what they did, how they started doing this. It wasn't always day and date. They started rolling out these titles slowly, and now everything is day and date. This is just the beginning for Sony. Everything will be a day and date eventually, whether it's 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. The end goal is to be day and date everywhere. Because what makes Sony money? Look at their earnings reports. It's their games. How do you sell more games? Your install base. How do you increase your install base? You send that product to more platforms. That's what they're doing with PS Now when they talked about games on every device with their job listings. That's what they're doing now with Horizon Zero Dawn, Bloodborne, and more coming to PC. And really, the console doesn't make them much money. As a matter of fact, they probably lose money on these systems, especially the PS5. Long story short, be careful who you listen to on this kind of stuff. Sony did recently show Ratchet & Clank. The game looks phenomenal, looks absolutely insane. In my opinion, yes, it is of a cartoony design, but it is doing impressive things, and I will be playing this day one on my PS5. I would like to play this on my PC, but believe it or not, Sony make a very similar amount of money, whether or not I play it on my PC or my PS5. Really, they're just selling me that PS5 so I can have a means to play the game until that game eventually comes to the PC. Again, 5 years, 10 years, what have you. Sony see Microsoft's record-breaking revenue streams, and they want to increase their already tremendous revenue. Why do you think they signed the memorandum to essentially copy their xCloud model through Azure? But hey, let's move on to PS5 pre-orders. Sony are allowing their biggest fans to pre-order their PlayStation 5s off of their website. Now, some of you might be thinking, wow, that's kind of weird. Why are they doing it through their own site? Well, keep in mind that you don't have to actually pay out to any middlemen if you get as many pre-orders on your own website as possible. When they sell things through Amazon, GameStop, and more, they got to pay them something for selling it. If you can get as many hardcore guys to buy it straight off your site as possible, you are taking a little bit less of a loss or making a tiny bit more per sale, if they are making any at all. This is their way of perhaps getting the middleman out of the picture for the most part, at least for the first run of PS5s. They are also taking your trophy level, your PlayStation Network activity into account when basically handing out these pre-orders. So somebody like me with a relatively low trophy level on PS4 would probably not get one of these early edition PS5s from their website. They are taking your trophy level, your PlayStation Network activity into account when handing this out. So basically, their biggest fans do qualify first and foremost over some random person. This also helps against people just buying them up and reselling them on eBay. Again, I will link this pre-order tab down below in the description with the rest of these sources from today's video. Get your pre-order if you have not. Let me know what you think on all of these topics. And again, I think Spider-Man Miles Morales standalone DLC, the expansion, is the only thing PS5 has on day one. But guess what? Microsoft don't have anything, which as a hardcore Xbox guy is disappointing. You know, I'm not going to lie about it. So I will be playing Spider-Man day one. Ratchet & Clank will not be there until early next year, I do believe. It is not a day one title. I think that's been confirmed, though the game does look very, very crazy. It looks crazy. Look at all the AI, the destruction, all the particles, all the things going on. I would be lying if I said this wasn't at least technically impressive. And Microsoft showed Halo Infinite, which needs, I'm hearing, another year and a half in the oven. So, you know, will they release it early next year? Will they try to get it out next year at all? At the end of the day, really what I want is for the game to be done and to be the best product that it can possibly be. That's why we've always asked for a delay on RDX Podcast ever since we saw Craig Infinite crawl out of the bushes. But again, let me know your thoughts down below. Hit the like button if you haven't. Show a buddy or two. Subscribe, the bell icon, all that crap. Links down below in the description, including all the sources. Patreon, hit the join icon next to the subscribe button if you haven't, for cool emojis and custom crap like that. You guys absolutely rock. Thanks for everything you do. I'm Dealer, and I'll see you in the next one.